I think our whole life is just spent working up so that we can enjoy those few moments of just bliss.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of like, that's why people want a relationship. You want to be able to just lie there, look down at them, see them, and just feel like the sort of happiness. And I think that's kind of like why I want to do music, because I can see myself kind of being up on that stage and just imagining the feeling of like finishing a song, hearing everybody cheer, and just looking out.
Oh man.
And just like feeling that sort of rush. I know one of the songs is one of the songs called "The Relationship with Me" is very like, at least so far, it's very personal to me because I wrote that song like well in tears.
Hi guys, welcome to another episode of the Beneath the Surface podcast. I've got Jeremy here with me today. How are you, man?
I'm feeling great. I'm glad that we're finally doing this.
I know, me too. I'm really.
It took a little bit to get it.
It did. It's been a learn as I go situation here.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's get right into it. Let's talk about you. So you make music. Disclaimer.
Yeah.
That's basically like a big part of what we're gonna be talking about.
Yeah.
So what got you into music was my initial question originally.
I think it started as because I used to be like really classic rock focused. Like I loved Blue Oyster Cult, loved 38 Special. Like it's all I listened to. And then I discovered a video got recommended to me on YouTube, and I listened to it. It was from NF, the song No Name.
Yeah, I know NF. Yeah.
And after that, immediately fell in love with rap. And the more and more I listened to it, I just grew a love for it. And I didn't think about sort of making music until like seriously, because I'd always like as a kid my sister would grab her guitar and we just scribble lyrics down or whatever, but like one of my friends sort of invited me, was like, hey, he knew that I liked rap as much as he did, and he was like, hey, do you want to do a song with me? He's like, I know you write it as like kind of a hobby.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, sure. And then so we still haven't recorded that because I need to work on delivery, but it was but yeah, like, so just seeing his like passion for it and like seeing the sort of flow for it and seeing him get really into it was like really contagious. So I think I definitely owe it to him.
That's really cool. You know, that's a good way to start, is just collabing with people and, you know, having something that, you know, is a common interest. Creating music with people you care about, because I think that's what music like is about a lot of the time.
Oh yeah,
is
sure.
Like people you care about and emotions and experiences. I remember you were talking about how like each song represents something in your life that's either happened or you felt, or something, you know, a deep part of how you're at least feeling in that moment. What songs, what certain chapters of your life do some of these songs represent for you?
A lot of them are like for the most part, I'd say it's probably like the emotional ones are probably more like the sort of darker side of it, where it's like for the past like couple years of like struggling with like anxiety, depression, certain times like overeating, like dealing with sort of being overweight, and then like bullying. So just like various things that I've like dealt with throughout my life, and just kind of to outline that, like, I think because I do smile a lot of people assume that I haven't had like some sort of a difficult life, but like,
Yeah.
you know, I think it's just to show that like it's a nice way for me to deal with it, and also, well, if someone else has had the same issue, that it gets it out there to be like, hey, even if it's not that common, you know, there are people like that.
Yeah, that's amazing, man. It's really brave of you to put out that kind of emotion, you know, especially as like men, you know, because you know, that's kind of looked down upon, you know, how the stereotype, you know, men should feel kind of less feelings, or like, you know what I mean, like, so that's really cool that that's what I'm trying to do with this podcast.
Yeah,
is like just support the fact that we're all human,
Yeah.
And we all, even though, I smile a lot, like the same thing, but like,
Yeah.
we all have these things that we go through,
Yeah.
and we all have some form of anxiety, and we're all, definitely some are worse than others.
Oh
But,
yeah.
yeah, it's interesting to, you know, focus in that energy into a craft. And I
Yeah.
think that's what you're doing, and that's really neat.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think that some of these songs will like stick with you for like these moments that you create, through these songs? Are they usually like moments that you'll remember forever, or for better or for worse? Or do you
Yeah.
think that you'll like have you gone through a song and like kind of mixed two songs together, like two moments together, or is it like each moment is each song, do you think? Or
I don't think it's exactly like structured in that sort of sense. I
yeah.
think I try to make it feel sort of as natural as possible. Like sometimes it'll be from like an emotion will be so strong that it's not productive and I don't get anything done while I'm in that emotion, so
Oh,
I write
okay.
about it later.
Yeah.
Like a lot of times when I am feeling sort of down and depressed, like I can't even do like I can't write because I'm like just so down. I'm like I know this wouldn't make anything good. So like later, maybe I'll just write down what I'm feeling, try and write something that's like maybe not even coherent, but like then later I'll
Mm.
be like, okay, there's some
Mm.
sort of quality to this. When I'm more level headed, I'm like, okay, there's some quality to this. Let me evaluate more. And then there's other times. I know one of the songs is one of the songs called "The Relationship with Me" is very like at least so far is very personal to me because I wrote that song like well in tears, like sort of just like
Yeah.
so, and it was like basically about like having trust issues with the start of a relationship, you know.
Yeah.
And so I was having trouble, not even trouble trusting because I think I trusted my girlfriend, but it was like very difficult to be like to give them that independence and be like, okay, I need to relax. I'm like, this is just anxiety. I'm completely out of it right now. But it's like, I wrote in that song while I thought that we were like done. So I was like, that one's very emotional. And then there's other ones that overeating, where it's like, or overstuffed is the name of the song, and like,
Yeah, I remember that.
and that one's like, I haven't really had like that an eating addiction for like a for ever since like I want to say in middle school. I want to say.
Mm.
Yeah, I'd say probably like eighth to ninth grade. I think as I moved into ninth grade, I kind of dropped that habit. But yeah, so it's like sometimes it's easier for me to be removed from it, and other times it's like I'm in the moment, I write something, and then later I'm like I need to do more with that.
Wow. Yeah. So
So
sometimes it's something that comes up from like years ago, or whenever, and then
yeah,
sometimes it's something that happened just that day.
yeah,
Oh, okay. That's interesting. I like that a lot. That's really because a lot of the times people, in general, human beings, don't let themselves fully feel, and I
yeah,
think that's an avenue you're taking is really good, not only just like healthy, like for your
yeah,
brain, but like doing and feeling these feelings and channeling it towards something, I think is really awesome.
yeah,
Do you how about the overeating? I know some people, that's actually something that, I really, don't I eat. I wouldn't say I like suffer from like an eating thing, a disability, but
yeah,
I sometimes I eat, I feel like everyone does this. Sometimes I eat something that I shouldn't have, or
yeah.
in the sense like felt like junk food or whatever. What do you think brought that on for yourself? Because I've kind of been on and off. Like I would eat really healthy for a while, and then I'd
Yeah.
like eat really crap for like 48 hours. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So what do you think like brought that on for you?
I think it was it's kind of like it was addiction's like a very easy sort of like route to take, and the
Yeah,
fact that like
yeah.
if you are feeling down, because that was like it kind of started in I want to say like mid elementary school,
Oh,
of
okay.
where it was like just constant like bullying and sort of like just like various things that just like every day was sort of that sort of thing, and so I kind of found comfort in like the taste of food and the fact that like just the action, and I also bored as well, which was not a good
Oh
combo.
man, I that's what I do. Like
Yeah,
that's the when I get into it, it's like if I'm bored or I have not much to do for like a couple hours.
Yeah.
I just like blink and I'm in front of the fridge type thing, you know.
Yeah, but I
So
think an important thing is that people also don't beat themselves up over those like
yeah,
moments of weakness, because it's like if it becomes a consistent issue, then it's like okay, maybe. But
yeah. Like I
if,
mean, less beat yourself up and more just acknowledge. You know,
yeah.
acknowledge and understand and pass through.
Yeah, because
You know, and love yourself the whole
sometimes
way.
it's nice to just make a huge meal that you don't think you can finish and just devour it and
Yeah, yeah.
be like, okay, now I feel like crap physically, but
But it's
it's
like the
like
mental
nice.
state of just letting yourself do that every once in a
Yeah.
while. Because if we hold on to these, you know, like if we have the meal and every bite we're like, oh, I hate you, Alex, or like, I hate that. You shouldn't do this. You shouldn't do this.
Yeah.
Like, consciously eat unhealthy rather than unhealthily eating and putting that, you know, self-hatred on. You know,
Yeah.
so like know that you want to eat healthier, but you know, don't kick yourself while you're down if you have a burger or something,
Yeah,
you
it's like
know.
the it's I think it's mostly like a pride sort of thing, because
Mm.
I feel like I do the same thing with like days where I don't do anything. Like even today was one of my days off, and I didn't do anything all morning, and I was like, I felt awful, and I was like, oh, I haven't wrote anything, I haven't even, I'm like, I've done nothing all day. But I think I realized that I'm like, it's important to like kind of have those moments and like let yourself
I agree.
enjoy. And even if it's like, because I think our whole life is just spent working up so that we can enjoy those few moments of just bliss.
Yeah.
Like, and I think that's kind of like, that's why people want a relationship. You want to be able to just lie there, look down at them, see them, and just feel like the sort of happiness. And I think that's kind of like why I want to do music, because I can see myself kind of being up on that stage and just imagining the feeling of like finishing a song, hearing everybody cheer, and just looking out
Oh
and
man.
just like feeling that sort of rush. Because I think I've always kind of enjoyed performing, even because I've struggled with like social anxiety a lot, but like which I feel like a lot of people do.
Yeah.
But like I've kind of for the most part gotten over that. Like I still am shy sometimes,
Yeah.
but like performing for me has always been sort of like even if I'm feeling super socially anxious, as long as I'm in a crowd and I'm like if I'm performing to a crowd, it feels great.
Yeah.
Like
Dude, there's nothing that beats that I've heard. You know, I haven't really performed. You know, the closest
yeah.
thing to that is like a play or something, you know, back
Yeah.
in school. But like, I feel like I can only imagine the feeling, the adrenaline rush of performing something people are enjoying and people clapping for you, you know,
And that's really what passions are. Is like
yeah.
because I think I realized that I wanted to keep writing, even if not as a profession, like as a hobby.
Mm,
When like my first feeling of like sort of finishing a song and then rereading it and like sort of performing it to myself
yeah.
and kind of getting those chills and like an adrenaline rush of being like, because every time I do finish a song, it doesn't happen very often, but like when I do, it really is like an adrenaline rush. It's like because it's like this whole thing that you've been working on for like so long. Like this one song I've been working on for like 2 months.
Oh, wow.
Only like halfway. It's only like halfway done because I'm too much of a perfectionist. But like, there's one song that's like the main sort of song off the
Mm,
album and like the sort of idea behind the
yeah.
album, like as an overall picture.
Yeah.
And so I want it to be the most crucial and hard hitting, right?
Yeah.
Maybe not like emotionally, but like I want it to feel like, I guess epic's a weird word, but like I want it to feel like
Yeah.
sort of
Yeah.
like,
Totally.
and I know when I finished that song, like lyrically, it doesn't have any music yet, but I know when I finished it lyrically, I was like, I'm happy with this.
Yeah.
Which was the first time I felt that, and it felt amazing. Like
Yeah.
cannot replace it.
What so what's the topic to that song or multiple topics I'd say
Like
probably.
the overall for the
Yeah,
album.
sure, like lyrically.
So I think what I wanna call it is and the reason I feel comfortable like going into detail about it because most
yeah, no
artists,
worries if you don't want to too.
but like a lot of artists don't go into detail. But I think for now it's just like it's fine because it's just concepts.
Yeah,
And
but no pressure. No.
yeah, but yeah. So the overall album I want to call the idea is called Devil's Script.
Mm.
which is about, and
Mm.
the sort of idea behind it, I was at work and it kind of just came to me, and I was like, sort of like this idea of like, because when you are full of self hatred, it kind of feels like a separate entity or like a demon. So I think I kind of wanted to. The idea of the album is like mostly just like self hatred about like it's not like
Yeah.
it's about me learning to deal with self
Yeah.
hatred and
Like the
like
process of dealing with something like
of
that.
me like and the reason it's called devils is because it me kind of like viewing myself as like the devil or like this demon entity and like sort of like trying to fight it like because the song that I finished is called "I'm Staring at the Devil," which is about which is basically about me. The song starts off as like a normal song of like it has the hook at the beginning and then it goes into me being like, hey, I'm dealing with a lot right now, and like halfway through it switches up and then it's like me and this sort of entity like kind of going back and
Oh
forth
wow, yeah.
and sort of like I'd say it's heavily inspired by intro 3 by NF, definitely.
That's awesome.
That's sort of like I want it to have that sort of scale of where it's like this is what this is going to be about and now I'm going to move forward from it.
Yeah. That's really awesome that especially something like that you're putting energy into creating a craft because that's one of the deepest pits out there that we can get into. I feel like is and it's a little bit broad, but I think most people can relate is that, you know, we're much more we're much harder on ourselves. We're much more hard on ourselves than
Like anyone else will
anyone
be.
else.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like
We're our own worst critic.
yeah, and it's interesting for me personally talking to you and talking to other people who are going through this and have gone through this.
Yeah.
It makes me remember like wow, cuz when I've been in that I've honestly felt like I genuinely believed I was alone in this.
Yeah.
Like oh this is it, I don't want I don't think I deserve anything. I don't
Yeah.
think I am, of value,
Yeah.
which is just, these are the lies that we'll tell ourselves. So, what we got to remember is that each human being has in itself intrinsic value.
Oh yeah.
And the fact that we have so much to give to the world and that we've given to the world.
Yeah.
So it's crazy or it's interesting how you've found this art to because I've when I've dealt with that, that's one of the hardest things I've had to deal with is something like that, to be honest. Like in high school I really hated myself.
Yeah.
I honestly I thought I was like some sort of like dark entity. Like I tricked myself into believing like oh at the deepest
yeah.
part of me is like this dark, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
But either way it's dark. So I really empathize with that because
Yeah.
I thought I was alone, and even now hearing you say that, it's like wow, okay, so other people go through this, and we're not ever alone.
Yeah. I even have a line like sort of towards the end about like the whole concept of like it's like a quick line, but it's like basically addressing the whole like fact that like we do tell ourselves these lies, and even if we know that they are lies, like entertaining these ideas is really toxic and like even because like deep down at first when you first sort of tell yourself these lies you like don't believe it. You're like no, and then the more you entertain these thoughts the worse that they get and you start to believe it. And so like basically being like don't entertain these ideas because like you do have some sort of value and it's just about like not letting that's what the whole sort of album is about is like not letting this other entity win because there's I'm staring at the devil which is about me sort of succumbing to that.
Yeah.
And then so it's basically like a storyline of the basically the 18 years of my life, not like point by point, but like there's a lot of stuff that's happened to me that I probably won't end up making a song about, maybe in like in some time down the road. But yeah, so it's basically like a timeline from like age 1 to 18 and whatever's happened. So
Each chapter.
It basically starts out with me succumbing to that, and then each sort of emotional song is kind of dealing with these sort of ideas in various ways, like the self-hatred from coming from overeating, the self-hatred from not being able to trust, or like relationships, and then like
Yeah.
just various things. And then by the end of it, there's a song that I'm trying to work on, which super early works. I tried to go back to the song and work on it. It made no sense. And I'm like, was I drunk when I wrote this? Like, and but yeah, and then it's called Devil's Fall, and it's basically about like sort of conquering that sort of demon, and realizing that, you know, we do have sort of, and it's not a quick process either. It takes a long. I think the main thing is like a lot of people sort of project this idea of where like people won't love you unless you love yourself. I think it's more of like, I mean, it's with most things. That's like a 50-50. It's alongside each other. If you try to start loving yourself because others do, then you'll slowly sort of heal, or like heal. You'll get to this point of where it's like
when you pass through it, you know, rather than turning away from it.
And you're gonna have I mean, even if you are like fully healed or whatever, like you're still gonna have, everybody has, even the happiest people in the world still have their dark moments of where like it's just about trying to find the people in our life that like can get us out of those moments. Because I know that like, man, if I didn't find my girlfriend, I'd be screwed.
Dude,
I wouldn't be chasing anything. I'd just be rotting away.
No.
But it's definitely about sort of like, and it's not all, obviously you're not going to find all your happiness in others.
No, but it's a good point, because a lot of meaning is relational.
You have to balance it. And I think I realized this the other day where I was like, where I'm like, I have to focus not only, because I always stress so much over, I'm like, oh, what am I going to do next to like try and progress my life? Like every day I wake up and I'm like, that's the next thing. I'm like, what is going to be the most efficient? And I'm like, and then I realized I'm like, I have to focus on the people that are going to be in my future first before, or like sort of, I have to focus on them too, and not just my future. Because if I get to that point and I've pushed everyone away, then like, what's the point?
Yeah.
Because you want to be able to like, I want that day to be like, to sell out some sort of like show, and like, as I'm about to walk on stage, and then like look around to like my team or whatever and be like, I did that, and be like, or it'll be like, we did that, and like, you know, just having that sort of accomplishment of where it's like, once you get it, then it's like, if you're just by yourself, then it doesn't feel very, self-validation only goes so far.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, is we need others, you know, we need like having a common goal, or having, you know, there's this really good analogy that was that David Gleason made actually on another episode of the podcast about having relational meaning, and like, and the analogy was like a football team, and it's like, okay, this football team, there's a bunch of people in one area, and they all have a common goal. So it's not just a goal that's stagnant, and it's like, okay, they make the goal. There's always there's a grand goal. There's the process. There's the process of the training every day, but it's for the ultimate championship or whatever. It's for like this common goal. So it's like with your art and with your music, it's like, there's more meaning to it, because there's this not just goal that's always going to be in front of you, that is, you know, once it's finished, it's finished. There's this goal that is seemingly never going to end, because you love this music. And it's like, when that passion's gone, the music will be gone, but you don't see the passion going away anytime soon. And you know, when you have other people around you to, you know, support you and love you and be there for you, that's where a lot of the fulfillment lies. Because when people rely on you, and you do what they're relying on you on successfully, and you help even if small things, help bring groceries in, or you help someone through some psychotraumatic, you know, trauma, whatever it is, you're helping someone, and it's relational. So I think it's a huge deal, is being with people that care for you, and that, like you were saying, if you made this crazy hit of music, but no one was there to celebrate it, you know, it wouldn't really mean as much at all, because without the people you love there, it seems much more meaningless.
Yeah.
You know. I was gonna ask about what I wanted to know your opinion on like where some of this self-hatred starts. Like I've been thinking about this a lot with me, and just like where did I feel where when was it where I felt the most insignificant, you know? And
Yeah.
I don't know, where do you think that kind of thing starts? You know, and it starts different places with many different people, but personally,
Oh yeah, that's what's difficult about it, is that
yeah,
everybody has a different scenario that add up to different things.
exactly.
But I think I've always been like sort of analytical, especially of my own mind. So I think I have a really good idea of like of where it initially started at
Mm,
in that sort of elementary to middle school sort of thing. Because I'd always been kind of bullied, pushed around.
yeah.
Anytime I tried to be myself, I either got punched and yelled at. So it
Oh,
just kind of
jeez.
it kind of just
Oh my
came from
god.
like
Yeah.
yeah, some aggressive 10-year-olds.
Jeez. Oh my god.
But
Oh man.
yeah, so it kind of came from that of where it's because as a kid I remember it being I don't remember it exactly, but I was always so sort of like joyful. I could take a punch to the face, cry about the pain, and then the next 5 minutes I'd be running around in circles, just having a grand old time, nose
Jeez.
bleeding.
Oh man.
Yeah, and it was but I think if you hear something enough, you kind of start to believe it.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with positive reinforcement too. Like if
Yeah.
that's why a lot of times if your significant other doesn't think highly of themselves, you'll nickname them like beautiful or you'll just call them cute, cutie, whatever.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
that constant like sort of positive reinforcement
Yeah.
that's like it kind of and it can lose its meaning if you say it like every 5 seconds.
Yeah. There's a balance to be struck.
Oh, and
Yeah.
that's the way with everything
Yeah. Exactly.
because I think sort of like self-critiquing is like crucial to truly thriving,
Mm.
but there's also I think a lot of difference. There's like always like a line, and I crossed that line of where like there's a line of like self-critiquing
Mm, mm,
and self-hating.
mm.
Like there's a very thin line
Yeah.
of where it's like if you want to improve in something, you even if it's something like if you want to read faster or whatever, or you want to do anything, you want to get better at anything, you have to somewhat look inward if you want to truly improve.
Yeah.
If you refuse to do that, then you run the risk of being imprisoned in your ignorance. But if you sort of look inward and kind of have the inner dialogue and be like,
Yeah.
okay, this is what's wrong, but you don't always want to remind yourself what's wrong.
Yeah.
I think that's where I went wrong. I said wrong a lot,
No
but
worries.
that was my mistake. Is that I sort of always was like self-critiquing over. I'm like, oh, I'm not as good. I'm not who I
And it
want to be
turned
right
into
now.
like I'm not good enough.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I never gave myself any credit for anything. So I'm like, so it got to a point where I'm like, oh, well, there is no credit to give.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. You tricked yourself into thinking that, the credit's always external to someone
so
else
focused on
rather than
improvement.
myself.
I was so focused on improvement that all I saw was the mistakes, and I never gave myself. It was always like, oh, I got better at something, and then it was, oh, well, what's next? Like, what's the
Yeah.
next thing that what's my
Even
next
if you did
weakness?
it right or however you wanted to,
Yeah.
you didn't give yourself the credit that you deserved.
Yeah, and it sounds
Yeah.
stupid, but it started as I played Overwatch for like a long time, and
Yeah.
I wanted to get like that high rank.
Yeah.
I ended up getting it, but I was like, I took the game. I stopped having fun with the game. I stopped because I was always like, I never let myself just kind of, I never let myself play bad and play poorly,
Mm.
which is usually when the most fun happens. Is
Yeah.
when you and your
Yeah.
friends are just messing
Goofing
around.
around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I never let myself have that because I was always so focused on being like, well, like pros wouldn't do that, so I gotta keep getting.
Yeah,
And
like
then
so serious that
so,
you're just
like,
way too hard on yourself.
that's where sort of my self criticalness started. It was like, and then I started applying that because it was fine with the video games because I was like, oh well, I hit this rank, so it's fine.
Yeah.
Like I know that I'm good at this game, but then I started applying it to other things in my life of where like literally everything got self critiqued,
Yeah.
like my handwriting. So like
Yeah.
I think
It's like times 10.
sort of like that's where I feel like a lot of the concept of ignorance is bliss sort of comes from, where it's like there's some weaknesses that you can completely like handwriting. If it's
Yeah.
like if people can't really read it, then like sure you can improve it, but for the most part, that stuff's not gonna matter. Like,
yeah, and it's how you react to the situation. Like if you are having bad handwriting, or you are hard on yourself for being too loud, or anything really.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, there's a huge difference between seeing these things and reacting in the way of, wow, I'm not sufficient enough as a human being to deserve to exist, compared to, oh, well, that's just something to work on. You know what I mean?
Oh,
so it's like, remembering that it's good to see our mistakes. It's just, it's really a mistake to obsess over them and judge our entire beingness on a few mistakes, or even many mistakes.
Yeah, and sort of giving yourself time to kind of like be like, okay, well now I've addressed it. Well, let me give it time to like, so that if you keep making the same mistake, be like, this is how I'm gonna learn. So I have to sort of be like, oh, okay, I know it's my weakness. I'm working on it. As long as you keep even giving yourself that credit that you are aware of it and you're working on it is huge.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't do that. They'll go through life being like, oh, I hate this, I'm not good at it.
Yeah.
And then you're like, someone will be like, well, practice. And they'll be like, no, I'm bad at it. Like the number one thing that I hear that with is drawing, of where like a lot of times like I used to like to draw a lot, like with patterns and a lot of stuff. So I realized that I didn't really enjoy doing realism, and I think that's what I realized, that I wasn't good at it. Same sort of thing with guitar. I always beat myself up and like, I can't play guitar, and I'm like, it's because I don't want to.
Yeah. If you love to do something or want to do something, dive into it. Yeah, everyone sucks at first. Yeah. Everyone at whatever it is. Like LeBron James at some point completely blew at basketball.
Yeah, Ed Sheeran, a great example I like to use is Ed Sheeran. A lot of people call him like one of the most talented, and I do think he is one of the most talented pop musicians of our generation, alongside like Billie Eilish, a bunch of other people.
Yeah.
And but a lot of that started, especially with like people like Billie Eilish and her brother, and then Ed Sheeran. Ed Sheeran started playing when he was like 2 years old. That's how he got musically. And even into his like adulthood, he sort of like didn't have a confidence with his voice and like singing. Yeah. A lot of people said he didn't have like a really good singing voice. So he started taking vocal lessons to sort of improve that and be like, so I think like having that sort of process, and a lot of people don't see the process. So a lot of people assume that it's like, like I've always kind of tried to push that natural talent doesn't really exist. Like to a certain extent, I kind of...
Yeah.
Like,
I know what you mean.
You're going to have natural advantages, but that doesn't lead to talent. Like if you're tall if you're tall, it doesn't mean you're going to be good at basketball.
Yeah.
And like
it's just an extra boost if you want to do basketball.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like something that... Yeah, totally. I totally understand.
But yeah, so I think a lot of people will kind of use that excuse to like not do something. But I think if you don't... I kind of realize this too, of where it's like, if you don't enjoy the process and you just want to see yourself like a guitar, you want to see yourself performing on a stage playing guitar. If you just want the end goal and you're not happy with the process, then it's most likely not your passion. Yeah. Like
that's just true.
Exactly.
It's just how it is. Like it's just reality.
Then you find something you want to improve on, because it's like. You can pick up a guitar and like kind of strum on it and be like, oh, I improved, but it's not as much as I would like. You put it down, you never touch it again. Yeah. But like sort of with like my raps, like sort of seeing lyrically myself kind of improve. And a lot of my improvement has come from giving myself slack, which is a huge thing that people forget to do, because I think I compare myself to some of my more favorite rappers who like NF, like every single line's like there's no throwaway lines. There's never like a transition line, it doesn't feel like, or like that's kind of what I call it. Like it never feels like there's that. It's always like each line is jam packed with like something that can make you be like, oh, like I have to think now. Yeah. But then I remember that I'm like, he's been doing this since he was like 8. Yeah. He's been doing music for a long time. Same people with like or like Token. Like he's works his ass off. There was one time where he posted it where he had like 70 songs like on the back burner, and he erased it all because he's like, I wasn't happy with them. So I'm sort of the same. I'm kind of the same sort of way, where like right now I have like 20 songs, but I think I have 3 that have beats, and I'm kind of working towards, and I like them. I have 2 other ones that have beats that I'm like, I can see them. I can see other people liking them, but they're personally not something I
Yeah.
The huge thing is that if I can't like
Yeah.
sort of enjoy my music and get hyped to it
Yeah.
like I do with other people's music, then I'm not going to release it.
Yeah.
Because if I can't listen to it over and over, how am I going to expect other people to be able to?
Yeah, totally. I mean, that's how we start is and something that's important is to remember how these big rappers or big artists started.
Oh yeah.
You know, like Eminem worked at a McDonald's, you know, and tried to push, you know, and he's in my opinion one of the best rappers ever. Like
Yeah.
it's insane how like he's, you know, now he's worth billions or whatever.
Yeah.
So like he I'm not sure if it was McDonald's, but I know he worked at like fast food to like try to push his lyrics, you know, like all these people started somewhere and we kind of look at the end goal and look at all these, you know, we meaning like collectively that, you know, a lot of the time, like I've done this, like I've compared myself like stupidly to, or just like, I don't need to do this. Like I compared myself to like Joe Rogan. It's like, that's like comparing like
he's like the
a
king
stick
of podcasts.
fort. Yeah. That's like comparing like a stick fort to like the White House. You know what I mean? It's like just something that doesn't need to happen because I'm not there yet, you know, and I'm never gonna, I mean, I don't want to say never, but like, you know, I'd like to make money off this. That would be like insane.
Yeah,
but that's not why I'm doing this. You know, exactly. So like obviously
you just kind of hope that you like have a reason to do it more. So it's like now I can focus this as my priority.
And Joe, I mean, he's like a multi-millionaire. It's like that's great. You know, few people get there, and it's like I don't want to worry about getting there because I know there's a
enjoy the process.
Yeah, enjoy the process instead of even thinking about that, you know, and getting taking the next step, whether that means getting a new mic, getting another plant for the background, like whatever step it is, it's just making that next step and not overthinking, you know, oh, look at all these big guys, you know, not thinking I'm never going to get there, but not obsessing over getting there itself.
I think a really important mindset to have, and one I've sort of developed is like, not putting your inspirations on like these sort of pedestals and kind of being like, okay, yeah, I want to make it like to their level, but like also what are they doing that I can't, what aren't they doing that I can? So it's sort of being like I want to be my own thing, but like it's like I have these inspirations and like, but I kind of want to pass them, you know, like I kind of want to be like, I kind of want to earn that sort of thing and being like, hey, maybe someday they'll look up to me. Like that sort of thought to me is always like,
it's okay to have like
super nice.
It's okay to be like, wow, yeah, I want to be successful and make a lot of money off this. It's okay to feel these feelings, but it shouldn't be the driving force why you do the craft.
I had an event like the other day, which is still insane. One of my favorite singers, Chris Bloom. He's he's not like too big. Yeah. But like he's still like, to me, he's like I love his music. I love his like personality. Yeah. I saw him perform with like the headline show with Scotty Sire, but like he's his friend, so like they kind of all perform together. And seeing his energy on stage, I was like, I gotta find this guy's music. So I instantly fell in love and like started listening to it. I love his EP Questions and Confessions. Great EP. But like and then I would message him on Instagram and like reply to stories, and he started like liking them and responding. Damn. And I was like, what? So it's like so humanizing to be like, oh my God, it's a person. And then like, but yeah, so I think that just kind of like having that of where I'm like, well, if I ever get like at his level or like a notable level, maybe we can do something together. Yeah. And like kind of being like, and I started thinking of where I'm like, I'm like, even though it's probably not very likely, I started thinking like, so how would I use his voice in a song, like on a feature? And I was like, and it was,
dude, that's sick. It's a sweet thing to get pumped up about, because it's like someone replied to you that you look up to and does your similar craft. You know, I've had that happen actually once. This guy, this YouTuber who is not a podcaster, but he does videos that are really emotionally striking and gorgeous, and you know, he replied to some of my things, and he was like, and he like commented on he commented on like a podcast post, and he was like, you got this, man. Like he was like, you got this. And I was awesome. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, I've been watching this guy for like over a year, and it's weird when that happens. It's exact moments like that that kind of,
it's always, I think with everything in life, it's like kind of how I said earlier, it's like working towards those small moments of where it's like, sure, you're gonna have like those huge moments, but those are really gonna last too long. But like the small moments of where
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah.
even like to an artist, it might seem like a little bit small. They're like, okay, yeah, I probably respond to like hundreds of DMs a day,
Mm.
but like the reason that most of them do it is because they know that like most likely they just made that person's day, and
Oh
like
yeah.
and sort of like I feel like he probably doesn't even know that like him responding to me kind of inspires me to be like, well, I want to have a following and be like, and like I want to mean something to the people that support me. Like I don't want to just be like, oh yeah, I like him. I want them to be like, oh yeah, I love that. Like he's got a
Yeah.
great, he's a cool guy, and like I
Yeah.
want people to have those sort of stories and be like, dude, he replied to me at one point.
Yeah.
Like I think it's. I thought it was selfish at first, but
No, it's
of
not.
being like, oh, I want people to like me, but like
It's not.
I think it was more of just like I want to know that like I mean something to like this the more I guess the overall picture or like to a larger group of people, and I know
Yeah.
that like
Yeah.
sort of being trapped in that sort of like quote unquote 9 to 5 or like just doing nothing but working all the time.
Yeah.
I'm like I want to do something that like means something to like
Yeah.
more than like a group of like 20 people.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean you want to break free from that, societal norm we have to just work 9 to 5,
Yeah.
work, these hours, be unhappy, go to college that you might for a reason you might not, want to go to college for or
Yeah.
whatever, you know what I mean? So it's good and scary to break from those chains because it's a
Yeah.
scary leap, man. Like doing what you're doing, like with the
Yeah.
music, like we need more people like you, basically entrepreneurs who are creating their own things and pushing their own, art. And I think that's really important in that we're all there for each other. And
Yeah.
it's a cool thing you're doing because I'm in a similar boat, and
Yeah.
I feel the struggle, and I feel the joys that you feel too with creating your craft. So
Oh yeah.
it's nice to relate, to one another about just creating. So
Yeah.
yeah, do you think do you not see an end goal for this music, right? You just want to keep pumping out,
I think the huge thing is like I want to the I think it's like small sort of not small but like sort of like goals at a time. Like I can't just skip step and be like, oh, I want to be on the wall of fame. Like I
Oh
want
yeah. Oh yeah, it's one step at a time.
for me
Yeah.
I'm kind of viewing it as like a
That's good.
I'm like a if I put in the work, I'm gonna get to whatever point I want to be at.
Yeah.
Which
And
obviously isn't always exactly true, but I'm like I can sure as hell beat back some of the
Yeah.
odds that are against me with like whatever hard work. So it's like I want to put out some art that like really sticks with people, and
yeah, yeah.
they're like, oh, it's not just another rap album.
Mm.
It's like this, like I want people to have their songs of where it's like it's in their playlists, and every time they hear it, I want them to have like that sort of excitement, like when your favorite song comes. Like whenever I hear my favorite song, I'll be
Yeah.
like,
Oh,
hell yeah.
damn. Yeah.
I want people to have that sort of like excitement when they hear my music, and then I also want them to, if they're going through a rough time, that maybe they can like listen to it and hopefully like, because I think having music that's like all sort of like dark and gloomy is like, I want to have it be emotional, but not feel hopeless. Because I feel like
Yeah. Light at the end of the tunnel.
like a lot of rappers do it from the heart. Like NF, Josh A, Jake Hill, they really do have like this sort of like
Mm.
it's from the heart, but they're oftentimes it doesn't feel like there's a hopefulness to it,
Yeah.
which usually tends to be like they're not feeling like they're in a hopeful place.
Yeah.
So it's like they are like 100% with their sort of emotion, and then there's people like Whit Lowry, like with his album Never's Road that came out. Like the song Never's Road is like, even my mom, I started playing it for her. She's like,
Yeah.
this song's depressing, and I'm like, just wait for it. And then like he talks about like his sort of struggles with like losing family members, almost dying, and then like sort
Yeah.
of having all these sort of struggles. And then at the end, he's like, he has like those words that always give me chills, where he's like, no matter where we go, we always started at like Never's Road, which is the street he grew up on. So it's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
he's like, no matter what happens, we're always gonna have our start, and we're always gonna have that sort. Even if it's not a good start, we're always gonna have like a jumping off place, and it's up to us to like kind of take that. It's not solely up to us, but it
No, but it's we need to take the responsibility for our happiness,
yeah
and everyone has that start, and whether it's you were, given good cards when you were born, meaning,
yeah
environment wise or parent wise, compared to, given cards that you're already, you're wealthy, whatever that is. Either way, we're still responsible for our happiness,
yeah
and we're responsible for, using that start. And I think that's an important thing to do. And I think that's what you're doing. So that's really cool. I
yeah
um I think that music especially is an interesting art form because it deliberately, I forget if I've shown you this song before. I know I told you about it. I'm pretty sure, but like what you mentioned earlier, like speaking from the heart.
yeah
There's a lot of music out there that's, surfacey, music that's not really pointing out thing. And I get the appeal of that. Some people just want to run from life just for a moment, and
yeah
I get it. I do at some point, but
yeah
I like that you're putting out genuine art, and genuine things that come from your heart, because that's something that's, that we're kind of low on,
I think an ideal sort of like album setup and kind of how I'm trying to is that there needs to be a balance of like I'd say it can be because obviously I think if it gets to a point where it's like because obviously there's initial value of like of just having songs that like this just gets me hyped. It's a nice way to like sort of not be in my thoughts, especially like with
yeah,
people like me of where it's like if I listen to sort of sadder songs, I more take on the emotions than I
yeah,
do. So like a lot of the times escapes are better. And it's
yeah,
I think the ideal
yeah,
sort of album has like a mixture of the two over it's like a nice blend of being like it's not just drowning you out with like sort of
yeah,
sadness. Like even
totally.
like like even with like I keep going back to NF, but like
No, it's all right.
I think
Yeah,
even with NF's sort of new album, The Search, of where it's like
yeah,
he has like those hype songs, but I think it's spaced out in a way that's like if you listen to the album like straight through,
yeah,
it just kind of gets like of where it's like there's not enough like sort of breaks of where
yeah.
it's like okay, well I've just had like five depressing songs in a row, and then it's like not even depressing, but like I've had five sadder
Sadder,
songs,
yeah,
and now I'm in my feels, and then all of a sudden it's like hype, and
yeah, like,
you're like, well, how do I
oh,
feel? Which like a lot of people like that sort of emotional roller coaster,
yeah,
and I think
but
that's kind of the point of it.
yeah, it's
But I think the way that I want to do it, where it's like it's less like I'm kicking you in the head, and it's more of like sort of just like an expression, you know? It's like
yeah, it's hard to, certain people like certain things, like you said, emotional roller coaster,
yeah,
like, hype song compared to right after a sad song can feel really like weird, like, oh, I'm
yeah.
hyped about being sad now, but yeah, it's interesting. And I wanted to ask, what were some of the other topics of some of your songs? I know we talked about the binge eating and
Yeah.
yeah, oh yeah,
I have a
you've got
lot of
some notes.
notes.
Yeah.
Uh, one of the hype songs I have is "Wrong." It's basically being like the idea of being like I've been sleeping on. Basically, I've been sleeping on my dreams for like however long, and I
Oh yeah,
think
that's a good start. That's like a good like song. I could see that being a really good
yeah,
song
that's
or
part of the hook. Is
topic.
it
Yeah.
says I've been sleeping on my dreams for way too long, and that's the one that I sort of kind of like hinted at on my story. Like I posted a clip of the beat, and I was like, this is, and I just put wrong. But because I thought the song was close to finish, but then
Mm.
as I
Mm.
continued, I'm like, I don't like it.
Yeah. So it's like critique.
Yeah. And another song I have, it's basically like the sort of concept of like, it's basically like I'm staring at the devil, but I want it to be more separative, where it's like I'm directly talking straight to like hatred as an emotion.
Yeah.
Because I really like the way that NF does that, where it's
Mm.
like he personifies a lot of or like a lot of artists do that, where they personify emotions
Mm.
and be like, because sometimes it can really feel like a set like I think like, a lot of people are quick to jump to like bipolar, and it's like, no, that is really normal to sort of
Yeah.
have that of where you're like,
Yeah,
it feels like a different person. That's why
it
like your
does.
emotions really do take over sometimes, of where you're like, if you're really angry and you're like, I know I need to not be angry right now, but like, I'm
Yeah,
just angry.
that's why like the Greek gods are the way that they are, is because like anger, there's like the god of anger, the god of gluttony, the god. It's like because people
Yeah.
genuinely believe that they got um taken over by these gods when they were pissed off. Like it's not them being pissed off. It's the god of anger that's
Yeah.
affecting them, or whatever way, or the god of gluttony if someone's eating a lot of food. So it's interesting how we think about these emotions and like see these emotions as separate entities, because
Yeah.
it really feels like that
Oh yeah,
a
for
lot of
sure.
the time. Oddly enough, which
Yeah.
because it is just how we are, and but it's interesting how we tell each other, or we tell ourselves all so many different things that we know aren't true. So really, even especially then, it seems like another person kind of
Yeah, and sometimes
messing with us.
and sometimes the way that emotions kind of treat you does feel like a person,
Yeah.
of where it's like happiness is a person who's like sort of like always kind of there for you. And there's a song I want to write that's like very much like describing the way that each emotion treats me and like the way I treat them.
Yeah.
Basically like as if
Oh,
it's like a group of friends almost.
yeah.
And but yeah, so anger's always like a it's basically like a drama filled friend where it's like they're always gonna blow everything out of proportion.
Yeah, everything's
Try and poke the fire and then like
yeah.
and then just sit back and relax. Like and then sadness is sort of that friend that like that may seem like they're comforting you, but really they're either just trying to get something out for themselves or like they just don't want to see you fail. So it's like sadness is like more of like selfish. It's where it's like
Yeah.
and where it's like it wants to see it. It knows that it won't like reach that sort of goal, so it doesn't want to see anybody else do that either.
Yeah, totally. I can
So-
see that being a killer song. Seriously,
Yeah.
because there's so many different ways and lyrics
Yeah.
you can find in that.
And I'm like
Similar. It's like all these. I feel that like flow in the brain of like, oh
Yeah.
man, I'm excited about this, and let's take it this next step or do this
Yeah.
next thing. So we're always growing in our craft, and
Yeah.
well, we need to stick together. You
Oh, for
and
sure.
I both when it comes to
Yeah.
creators, because we're all creators to some level. But it's nice to meet. It's nice to talk to someone who's also creating. Something that is similar, because lyrically
The goal is to like affect people
Yeah.
in some sort of way.
Yeah, exactly, like emotional way.
I think I think a good piece of advice that I have for you is like
Yeah.
to realize that like not to look at things like as topics and more of like on the surface, because
Yeah.
ironically because you're still
Yeah.
your name, but like a lot of sort of things of where it's like a lot of people, it can feel like everybody's the same because we get to a point where it's like
Yeah, totally.
of where it's like we all have the same sort of thoughts. It's the different ways that our personalities interpret of where
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah.
there may be somebody like depression and anxiety. Like so many people, like a majority of people have experienced
Yeah.
both of these things.
Yeah.
It's just different ways that we sort of interpret it. Because I know the last time we did this, I was really like kind of going through it, where it was like it kind of came back. It like because
Yeah.
it felt like I had been good for like a month, came back for a week, and I was like, it's like what the hell? I thought it was over.
Yeah.
And then sort of like, and so, but now I feel like I've gotten into a better and better spot. So it's like there's value, even if it's the same conversation, having it with different people is still like
Huge.
no matter what, you're gonna get entirely different things. Some guy may say it more in an intellectual way, which may touch the more people who like more exaggerated language, and basically there's the way that different people say things, and even just slight like grammar
Yeah.
changes in people, accents, whatever. Like
Yeah.
if somebody like some person from like I don't know Texas may not relate to me because I'm a kid from the north, and
Yeah,
so
yeah,
my voice doesn't connect to them. But if you have the same conversation with somebody from there, they're like, oh, now I can relate to them. It's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
because it can kind of feel disconnected when it's not people that we're similar to. But
Yeah, there's always like differences. If someone's like experiencing anxiety, there's myriad ways of experiencing that. There's a million different ones. So even if it's the same topic,
yeah,
you can touch on seemingly infinite different kinds of that topic.
yeah,
So that's a really good point. Is to everyone has their own experiences.
yeah. Don't be afraid to have
Yeah.
like don't think of things as like a topics and think of it more as like as the guest of where it's like
Yeah.
even because it's almost like if they're two different personalities, even if they're similar,
Yeah.
it can feel like two different topics.
Yeah, what I want to do is I just want to push just people, being able to feel comfortable in this space
And having the conversation
and
they
having
want.
the conversation they want. Exactly. So like, and letting them feel comfortable enough to say however they're feeling. So, so yeah, that was a quick, basically hour. My God. So thank you, man, for being on.
Thank you for having me on.
Of course. And yeah, thanks for anyone who's here at the end because you're the real G if whoever's here watching this. So,
like, comment, and subscribe if you made it to the end.
Subscribe if you made it to the end.
Comment in the comments wizard if you made it to the end.
Do it. Thanks, guys.